let us take, we want first to measure cell 1. Cell 1 which has an EMF epsilon 1. So we inserted the key, or we connected this 1 and 3 together with this key. Now let us see what will happen. Consider, so these cells have EMF epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. The points marked 1, 2, 3, these form a two-way keys. So these are a two-way key. Consider first a position of the key where 1 and 3 are connected. So we put the key simply between 1 and 3. So 1 and 3 are connected, so that the galvanometer is connected to epsilon 1. So there is no key, so this is not connected to anything. This first cell is now like this, connected to the galvanometer, and galvanometer is connected to a jockey which we touch on the wire at different places. Now the jockey is moved along the wire till at a point n1 at distance l1. So we find a point n1 which has a distance L1 from A. So this N1 point has some distance L1 from A. There is no deflection in galvanometer. So you know, so initially galvanometer can be negative or can be positive. So you move this jockey on the wire till there is a point where deflection on the galvanometer is 0. Galvanometer does not show any deflection. So there is no current flowing in galvanometer. Ig is equal to 0. Similar to meter bridge, you move jockey at different point. So at last you will find a point where there is no deflection in the galvanometer. That means no current is flowing in this galvanometer. So we measure this length. So this is 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, and let us say 3 meter 25 centimeters. So this is 325 centimeter. So we measure the total length of the wire. So let us say this is 325 centimeter for first cell. Okay, this is for first cell. Now what we do next? Then we can apply Kirchhoff's law. In this case, we can apply Kirchhoff's law, that is Kirchhoff's loop rule to the closed loop A N1 G 31 A. So this is our loop. So this is our loop. This goes here, from here, here. So this is our closed loop. So in this closed loop A N1 G 31 A. So we are applying Kirchhoff's law. So what do we say? We say this minus phi L1, which is the resistance, resistance is simply this phi into L1. This will give you the potential. So previously what you were doing? You were doing IR1 minus IR1 plus some V, that must be equal to 0. These kind of structure you were using. Now here this IR1 is V is equal to IR. So this is also a potential drop. So you are using IR1 as a potential. Here, since this is potential per unit length, that means delta V upon delta L. This is also L. So again this will give you some kind of voltage. This will also give you some kind of voltage. So what do we see here? So we see here this is minus phi L1. So if you go like this, this is minus phi L1. The current in this galvanometer is 0. This 3 and 1 are connected. Now we have reached at this cell. So here you see potential is increased. So plus epsilon 1 equal to 0. Epsilon 1 equal to 0. So what do we get? We get epsilon 1 is simply equal to phi L1. This is our first equation. Potential drop at this wire is phi L1. When reached at this point, potential is increased from negative to positive. So we put plus epsilon 1, that is equal to 0. Taking this side, epsilon 1 is simply phi L1. This is our first equation. Now let us see what will happen in the second. So now the key is removed from 1 to 3 and this 2 and 3 are connected. Now current is flowing in the galvanometer and this second battery, second cell is connected, first one is not. Now what would be the loop? Loop is this is connected to this. Again this time the length would not be same. Now length, say, let us say this length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 525 centimeter. Previously L1 was 325, L2 is 525 centimeter. Okay. So now this is the loop, from 3 to 2, then in this cell. So potential drop, what is the potential drop? Minus phi L2, and again from negative to positive plus epsilon 2, that must be equal to 0. So what do we get? Epsilon 2 is equal to phi L2. So we got the value of epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 in terms of lengths. So epsilon 1 was phi L1, epsilon 2 dividing by epsilon 2 was phi L2. Let phi removed, so we get epsilon 1 upon epsilon 2 is equal to L1 upon L2. So here you can solve 325 upon 525 and you can solve this thing. Similar thing you would be doing in your experiment. You are comparing EMF of two cells. Now this simple mechanism thus allow one to compare EMFs of any two sources. So we have compared the EMF of any two sources, cells which had EMF epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. In practice, one of the cell is chosen as a standard cell whose EMF is known as a high degree of accuracy. So what is the meaning of this line? Because we have compared, so we get only a ratio. Let us say this is cell 1, this is cell 2. So what do we get? We get only the ratio, not the actual EMF of these cells. We get only the ratio of cell 1 and cell 2. So what do? We take one cell, let us say cell 1, which is previously known. If let us say this is 1.08 volt, this is a standard cell for which we know EMF. Now from ratio we know that if ratio is 1.25, what would be the other cell? Ratio is 1:1.25. If first cell is 1.08 volt, what would be the second cell? 1.08 into 1.25 times of the first cell. So this would be the EMF of second cell. So in this way we compare an unknown cell with a known cell for which EMF is known to a degree of high accuracy. The EMF of other cell can be easily calculated because here we are getting only the ratio. So 5/10 is also same as 10/20. So that cannot tell us whether the EMF is 10 volt, 5 volt or some other value. Only thing, when we have one cell which has some standard EMF, then we can tell what is the EMF of the cell. Now there is one more use of this potentiometer. We can also use a potentiometer to measure the internal resistance of a cell. So till now we know there is some internal resistance, this is small r. What is this small r for a cell? How do we measure this internal resistance? So to measure this internal resistance we also use this potentiometer.